Pick your name out of a jar. That's what started everything. Morrison's department store was doing this community secret Santa thing during the Christmas rush. Drop your name in a jar. Employees deliver gifts on Christmas Eve. I was running on fumes after pulling doubles all week. And when my manager shoved that jar at me during break, I reached in without thinking. The paper felt ancient, yellowed at the edges. Mrs. Eleanor Chen. 847, Birch Street. The handwriting was shaky, almost childlike, and at the bottom in smaller letters, lives alone, please visit. Something about those words hit different. Maybe the exhaustion was getting to me, or maybe I actually had some holiday spirit left after dealing with returns and screaming customers for 3 weeks straight. I decided to make it nice, spent $60 of my own money on a decent gift basket. Tea, cookies, soft blanket, wooden puzzle. More than corporate's pathetic budget would cover. Christmas Eve, I drove to Birch Street right after my shift ended at 6 p.m. The neighborhood was old, the kind where houses hunched close to the street and every third porch light was burned out. Number 847 was dark except for one window flickering on the first floor. The house looked abandoned, paint peeling in long strips. Gutters hanging loose, dead plants in the window boxes. I almost left, should have left, but I knocked. After a long silence, she opened the door. Mrs. Chan was small, 70-something, with white hair pulled back so tight it stretched her face. She wore a faded floral dress that hung off her frame like it belonged to someone else. But her eyes, dark, almost black, and the way they locked onto mine, and felt wrong, too intense, too hungry. You came, she whispered, not surprised, grateful, like she'd been waiting specifically for me. I explained the Secret Santa program, handed her the basket. Her hands shook as she took it, and then she just stared. Didn't look at the contents, just stared at the basket, her mouth moving silently like she was praying or counting. 30 seconds passed, maybe a minute. Head snapped up. You look just like her. Like who? My Jennifer. Her smile didn't match her eyes. Come in, please. Just for tea. I said no, said I had family waiting. That's when she grabbed my wrist. Her fingers were freezing, strength surprising for someone so frail. You'll come back though. Promise me you'll come back. I promised just to get free. Practically ran to my car. Driving away, I watched her in the rearview mirror. She stood in the doorway the entire time, perfectly still, watching me disappear down the street. That night I couldn't sleep, kept thinking about those black eyes. Christmas morning, there was a package on my doorstep. I'd been awake since 6, my roommate too. Neither of us heard a delivery. The box was wrapped in ancient-looking paper with hand-drawn snowflakes. My name written in that same shaky handwriting. Inside was a knitted scarf, deep red with a note. For my dear Jennifer, love, Mom. My name isn't Jennifer. I'd never told Mrs. Chen my address. The store had strict policies about employee information. I checked with my roommate. No one had knocked, no car had pulled up. The package had just appeared. The next gift arrived the following night. I watched the door this time. Stayed up until 3 a.m., camera pointed at the entrance. Fell asleep around 3:30. Woke up at 7 a.m. to another box on the doorstep. The footage showed nothing. Just an empty hallway, and then at 6:47 a.m., a box was suddenly there. No person. No delivery. Just there. Inside was a tin of snickerdoodle cookies. Still warm. My favorite, though I'd never mentioned that to anyone at work. The note said, I remember how much you loved these when you were little. I'd known Mrs. Chen for 5 minutes. I'd never been little around her. The gifts kept coming every single morning. A photograph of the house I lived in when I was 7, the address visible on the mailbox. A bottle of my grandmother's perfume, a brand discontinued 15 years ago. A copy of my blood test results from a doctor's appointment 2 months prior. Things she couldn't possibly have. I called the police on day 5. The officer took a report but said without threats, there wasn't much he could do. He'd check on her, make sure she understood boundaries. When he called me back, his voice was different, uncomfortable. I did a welfare check. She's confused, says she only sent the first gift. But here's the thing, she kept calling me Jennifer, said Jennifer always comes home eventually. I looked into it. She had a daughter named Jennifer who died 14 years ago. Car accident. You might want to consider a restraining order. But restraining orders need addresses, and Mrs. Chen was never where I could see her. She was everywhere else. At the grocery store, standing at the end of the aisle. At the gym, sitting in the parking lot in a car I'd never seen before. Outside my work, across the street, just watching. She never approached. Never spoke, just watched with those black eyes. My roommate saw her too. 3 a.m, standing on the sidewalk across from our apartment, staring up at our window. We started closing the curtains. I changed my routes, my schedule, my regular stops. Didn't matter. She found me anyway. Then came January 3rd. I woke up and knew immediately something was wrong. That feeling when you know someone's been in your space. My bedroom door was open. I always locked it. Always. On my nightstand, face up, was a photograph. Me, asleep in my bed. Taken from the angle of someone standing right next to me. I was wearing the pajamas I'd worn last night. My phone was on the charger in the exact position I'd left it. She'd been inside my room while I slept. I grabbed the photo and drove straight to the police station. Walked in screaming, demanded they do something right now. 2 officers went with me to 847 Birch Street. Mrs. Chen answered the door like always. Same smile, same vacant stare. Jennifer, you brought friends. The house was a museum dedicated to her dead daughter, photos on every surface, but something was wrong with them. They showed a woman aging from childhood to late 20s, birthday parties, graduations, a wedding. The woman looked exactly like. Same face, same build, same hair. Not similar, identical. That's my Jennifer, Mrs. Chan said. Isn't she beautiful? She's coming home soon. She always comes home. One officer asked where Jennifer was. Mrs. Chan's face went blank. She's at work, or no, she's at school. Her voice cracked. She left me, but she's coming back. Look, she's right here. She pointed at me. They asked to see the rest of the house. Mrs. Chen's composure shattered. She started screaming that we were upsetting Jennifer, that we needed to leave, that would ruin everything. They searched anyway. The basement door had 3 deadbolts, all locked from the outside. Behind it was a bedroom. Jennifer's childhood room recreated in obsessive detail. Pink sheets, stuffed animals, posters from the late 90s. But covering every inch of wall space were photos of me. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Me sleeping, showering, eating, walking, working. Photos going back months, since September, before I'd ever heard of Morrison's Secret Santa. There was a calendar with dates marked. December 24th. First contact successful. December 25th. Gift exchange initiated. January dates were marked with activities. Morning routine, work schedule, favorite foods, sleep patterns. And then February 14th circled in red with words written in careful block letters. Jennifer comes home forever. Next to the calendar was a syringe and a bottle of something labeled in handwriting. The police wouldn't tell me what it was, just that it was enough to keep someone unconscious for days. There was a chain bolted to the wall, brand new, still had the hardware store tag on it. Mrs. Chen had been preparing to keep me. The officer found more in a file box, driver's licenses of 3 other women all around my age, all looking similar to the photos of Jennifer. Police reports attached. 3 different women over the past decade reporting stalking by an elderly woman. Each case had been dropped when Mrs. Chen was placed under psychiatric evaluation. Each time she'd been released. Each time she'd found someone new. I was number 4. The psychiatric evaluation showed she genuinely couldn't distinguish reality from delusion. She believed each woman was Jennifer. That Jennifer kept leaving, kept needing to be brought back. That it was her duty as a mother to bring Jennifer home. Even if Jennifer didn't understand yet. The facility they sent her to was supposed to be secure, but 3 weeks after I'd moved to a different state, changed my name legally, scrubbed my entire online presence, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered without thinking. Heavy breathing, then a whisper, Jennifer, Moms. I changed my number, changed it again, moved twice more. The police assured me she was still in the facility, that the call must have been a prank, that there was no way she could have gotten my new number. But last Christmas, a package arrived at my apartment. New city, new name, address I'd never given to anyone from my old life. Inside was a knitted scarf, deep red, and a note in shaky handwriting. I'll always find you, Jennifer. Mom never gives up. See you soon. I don't celebrate Christmas anymore, and I check my locks 5 times every night. They appeared at exactly 9 p.m. I checked my watch the first time because the timing felt too deliberate to be coincidence. I was house-sitting for my parents, watching their place in Millbrook Estates while they spent Christmas week in Florida. Easy money, quiet neighborhood, nothing to do but keep the heat running and bring in the mail. The house felt too big at night, but I figured I'd survive a week. December 21st, the doorbell rang at 9 p.m. sharp. I checked the peephole. 3 people stood on the porch in perfect formation. They wore old-fashioned winter clothes, the kind you see in Victorian Christmas cards. Long coats, heavy scarves, one holding an actual lantern even though the porch light was on. Their faces looked wrong in a way I couldn't immediately place. I opened the door. "We're here to sing for you," the woman in front said. Her voice was melodic but flat. The 2 behind her, a man and a younger woman, nodded in perfect unison. Then they started singing before I could respond. Silent Night. Their harmony was flawless, better than any professional choir I'd ever heard. But I couldn't stop staring at their faces. They never looked at me, not once. Their eyes stayed fixed on something past my shoulder, glassy and vacant. And they didn't blink. I watched the woman in front for the entire song. Her eyes never closed. Not once. When they finished, all 3 smiled simultaneously. The exact same smile, like they were puppets pulled by the same string. "Merry Christmas," they said in perfect unison. Then they walked away in formation, down the driveway, around the corner, gone. I stood in the doorway for a solid minute, trying to process what felt off about the whole thing. Finally closed the door and called my mom. "Did you hire Careless or something?" She laughed. "Honey, we've lived there 18 years. Nobody does that. Houses are too spread out." "Well, 3 people just sang on the porch. Probably the Henderson kids practicing. Go to bed. You sound exhausted." But I knew what I saw. December 22nd, 9 p.m. exactly, the doorbell rang. They checked the peephole, same 3 people, same spot, same positions, same clothes. Even the lantern was held at the exact same angle. They sang, "Holy Night," same perfect harmony, same blank stares, same simultaneous smile at the end. "Merry Christmas." Then they left. I set up my phone to record through the window before going to the door this time. Wanted proof. But when I checked the footage after they left, the screen showed the porch empty, completely empty. The timestamp confirmed it was recording during those exact minutes. The doorbell had rung. I'd seen them through the peephole. I'd heard them singing, but the camera showed nothing. December 23rd, I decided not to answer the door, set up the recording again, then sat on the couch and waited. 9 p.m. came. The doorbell rang. I watched the phone screen. Empty porch, nobody there. But through the door, I heard them singing. "Joy to the world," perfect harmony, crystal clear. Then the lyrics changed. "We know you're watching. We know you're there. We've been waiting for you to care. We see you hiding. We see your fear. We've been singing for 40 years. That's not how the song goes." My hands started shaking. The singing continued. More personal details woven into verses. My college major. My childhood dog's name. My birthday. The city where I was born. Information I'd never shared with anyone in this neighborhood. The song ended. 4 seconds of silence. Then in perfect unison. "Merry Christmas." I checked the recording. 4 minutes of empty porch. No sound. Nothing. I called my best friend. Told him everything. He said I was losing it. That house sitting alone was messing with my head. Suggested I leave, get a hotel. But I felt stupid running from Careless. It had to be a prank. Neighbors with some kind of tech setup messing with the house sitter. December 24th, Christmas Eve. I wasn't answering the door. I'd watch from upstairs, catch them in the act. I turned off all the lights at 8:30 p.m. and sat in my parents' bedroom window with a view of the front yard. Phone ready to record. This time I'd see them walk up, see how they were pulling this off. 9 p.m. approached. I watched the empty porch, the empty yard, the empty street. At exactly 9 p.m., they were just there. 1 second the porch was empty. The next, 3 figures stood in formation. They didn't walk up, didn't arrive, just materialized. The doorbell rang. They waited in silence for 30 seconds, then started singing. Hark the herald angels sing. From my position upstairs, I could really see their faces in the porch light. The woman's face was slack, expressionless, like a doll's. The man's face had that same emptiness. The younger woman's head tilted at an angle that wasn't quite natural, and none of them were breathing. Their chests didn't move. No visible breath in the December cold. Midway through the second verse, all 3 heads turned in perfect synchronization. They looked directly up at the window, directly at me sitting in the dark. Their mouths kept singing, but their eyes locked onto mine. Dead eyes, empty eyes. "We see you watching. We see you hide. We've been waiting right outside. We know your name. We know your face. We've been haunting this place. I fell backward away from the window, phone clattering to the floor. The singing continued for another verse, then stopped. Merry Christmas. I didn't move for 10 minutes. When I finally looked again, that's when I decided to leave, grabbed my keys, threw clothes in a bag. I was done. But when I got to the front door, I froze. Muddy footprints, fresh ones, still wet, leading from the front door across the hallway to the basement stairs. I hadn't opened the door tonight. The careless couldn't have come inside, but someone had. I called 911. 2 officers arrived within 10 minutes and searched the entire house. Found nothing unusual. No one hiding, no signs of forced entry. But the footprints were real. They photographed them, took samples. The mud's not from around here, the younger officer said. Clay heavy, the kind you'd find near riverbanks. I told them about the careless, all of it, the appearances, the changed songs, the same 3 people every night at exactly 9 p.m. His expression shifted. He looked at his partner. What's the address here? 427 Maple Drive. Why? He pulled up something on his phone, read it, then showed it to his partner. The older officer's face went pale. Have you heard about the Millbrook disappearances? I shook my head. He showed me an old news article. December 24th, 1984, 40 years ago to the day. 3 people went missing while caroling on Christmas Eve. Margaret Hull, 34, her brother David Hull, 38, David's daughter Sarah, 16, last seen at 9 p.m. in this neighborhood. They'd been going door to door singing carols. They never came home. Search parties checked the river. Ice had broken through in spots. The theory was they'd fallen through, bodies swept downstream. Never found. Case closed after 2 years. He showed me their photos from the article. My vision tunneled. Same faces, exact same faces. The woman in front was Margaret. The man was David. The younger woman with the tilted head was Sarah. 40 years dead, still singing their route. There have been reports over the years, the older officer said quietly. Always around Christmas. People hearing singing, seeing figures in old-fashioned clothes. Usually just 1 or 2 sightings per year, nothing consistent enough to investigate. But the footprints, I said, those are real. He looked at the basement door. Where do those stairs lead? Basement, unfinished, just storage. My parents keep it locked. You have a key? My dad does. He's in Florida. He looked at his partner. They decided to force it. 2 kicks in the old door splintered open. The smell hit immediately. Damp earth and something else, something rotten. We went down together, flashlights cutting through the dark. The basement was exactly what you'd expect. Concrete floor, exposed pipes, boxes of forgotten belongings. But in the far corner, the concrete was different, newer, a patch about 6 feet long and 3 feet wide. The officer knelt down, examining it. This was poured recently, maybe 10, 15 years ago. He looked up at me. Did your parents do any work down here? Not that they mentioned. He called it in. Within an hour, there were 5 more officers, 2 detectives, and someone with ground-penetrating radar. They found them at 2 a.m. Margaret, David, and Sarah Hall, buried together in a shallow grave beneath my parents' basement. Cause of death, blunt force trauma. They'd been murdered 40 years ago, buried, and the house had been sold multiple times since. Nobody knew, nobody checked. The detective explained it later. The house in 1984 had belonged to a man named Richard Lowe. Reclusive, antisocial, hated the holidays. When careless came to his door that Christmas Eve, he'd snapped, killed all 3, buried them in his basement, poured concrete over the. He'd sold the house 2 years later and disappeared, died in 1997. Secret buried with him, until now. The footprints, I asked, the mud. The detective shook his head, no idea. The burial site was bone dry, no mud, no clay. Whatever tracked that in, he trailed off, didn't finish the thought. My parents came home the next day. They were horrified, had no idea. They'd bought the house in 2003, 20 years after the murders. The basement had always been damp and unpleasant, so they'd avoided it. They sold the house within a month. The new owners reported problems within the first week. Doorbell ringing at 9 p.m. with no one there, singing inside the walls, footsteps in the basement. They lasted 3 months. The house has been empty for 2 years now. Nobody will rent it. And every Christmas Eve at 9 p.m., people report seeing 3 figures in old-fashioned clothes standing on that porch. They don't ring the doorbell anymore. They just stand there in formation, heads tilted up toward the windows, waiting. Last Christmas I drove past the house. I don't know why. Morbid curiosity maybe. It was 8:45 p.m. I parked down the street and watched. At exactly 9 p.m., they appeared on the porch. Same positions. Same clothes, Margaret, David, and Sarah. But this time they weren't facing the house. They were facing the street, facing my car. All three heads turned in perfect unison. They looked directly at me and they smiled. I moved to a different state, but every Christmas Eve at 9 p.m. I make sure I'm somewhere crowded because I'm terrified that no matter where I go, I'll hear that doorbell ring and they'll be standing there waiting to finish their song. The house was a steal. That's what we kept telling ourselves. 3 bedrooms, original hardwood, a Victorian on Ashwood Street for $60,000 below market value. My spouse, Alex, and I had been saving for years, and when our realtor showed us the listing, we jumped on it. The realtor was nervous when we asked why it was so cheap. Previous owner relocated quickly, job transfer, they wanted a fast sale. Did they die here? Alex asked half joking. No, nothing like that, just needed to leave. We should have pressed harder, but we were first-time buyers, desperate, stupid. We signed the papers in November. Live-in day was November 15th. The house was perfect. Character, charm, that old house smell everyone romanticizes. Creaky floors, drafty windows, weird groans in the pipes. We figured that was normal for a place built in 1903. The attic access was in the upstairs hallway. Pull-down ladder, standard setup. We kept meaning to check it out, see what storage space we had, but unpacking took priority. The attic could wait. Early December, we started decorating for Christmas. First Christmas in our own home. We went all out. Lights outside, big tree in the living room, garland on the mantel. Spent all of Saturday making the place festive. Sunday morning, I came downstairs first. Stopped halfway down the stairs. The ornaments on the tree were rearranged. Not just a few, all of them. We'd hung them randomly. Typical tree decorating chaos. Now they were in a deliberate pattern, organized by color and size, creating a perfect spiral. Did you do this? I called up to Alex. Do what? They came down. We both stared at the tree. Neither of us had touched it. We don't have pets. All doors and windows were locked. Alex suggested sleepwalking. I didn't buy it, but what else made sense? We left the ornaments as they were. 3 days later, it happened again, but worse, the ornaments spelled something. 5 ornaments moved into clear letters visible from the couch. HELP. We called the police. They came, looked around, found no signs of entry, suggested we install a camera. Probably someone messing with you. Camera will catch them. We ordered one on Amazon, had it delivered next day. Set it up aimed at the living room. Hit record before bed. Friday morning, we checked the footage. 8 hours recorded, tree visible the entire time. Nothing happened. Not a single frame showed movement. Then we walked downstairs. The ornaments spelled HOME. The camera hadn't caught anything, which meant either the camera was broken or whatever was doing this wasn't showing up. Alex was scared. I was furious. We decided to set up 3 more cameras, cover every angle. Whatever this was, we'd catch it. That's when we noticed the food. The fridge had been bothering me for a week. Things going missing. A sandwich here, leftover pasta there. I'd blamed Alex. Alex blamed me. But we started tracking what we bought versus what we ate. The numbers didn't match. Someone was taking small amounts every few days. Not enough to be obvious, just enough to survive. The sound started December 10th. Footsteps in the attic at night, slow, deliberate pacing, back and forth, always between 1 and 3 a.m., always the same pattern, right above our bedroom. I'd checked the hallway. The attic access was always secure. But the footsteps continued like someone was walking laps above us. Alex saw him first. 2 a.m. got up to use the bathroom, saw a shadow in the hallway moving toward the bathroom. Honey, Alex called, thinking it was me. The shadow stopped, turned, then moved fast back toward the attic access. By the time Alex got to the hallway, nothing was there, but the attic ladder was down, hanging open into darkness. I climbed up the next morning, daylight. Alex waiting below with a bat. The attic was full of junk the previous owner had left. Boxes, old furniture, typical attic clutter. But in the far corner, pushed against the wall, I found it. A sleeping bag, recently used. Granola bar wrappers scattered around it. Empty water bottles. A bucket that reeked of urine. Someone was living up here. I climbed down immediately. We called 9. 2 officers came, searched the attic thoroughly, confirmed someone had been squatting. But they are not here now. Probably fled when they realized you noticed. Wheel dust for prints, file a report, change your locks, secure that attic access. You should be fine. We weren't fine. That afternoon we installed a padlock on the attic access. Heavy duty, impossible to open from inside. Changed every lock in the house. Set up cameras in every hallway. We convinced ourselves we were safe now, that whoever it was had gotten scared and run. December 23rd. We went to bed around midnight, exhausted. I woke at 1:30 a.m. to Alex gripping my arm. Do you hear that? Footsteps, right above us, then metal scraping, the padlock on the attic access. Someone was trying to open it from inside. The scraping stopped. Footsteps moved across the attic toward the access point, then a sound that turned my blood to ice. The attic ladder extending, metal joints clicking as it lowered. We'd padlocked it. There was no way to open it from inside. But the ladder kept. Sound of metal breaking. Then feet on the ladder rungs. Someone. Know you're awake, male voice, rough like sandpaper. We need to talk. I moved to lock the bedroom door, backed away. Alex called 911, whispering our address, saying someone was inside our house. The doorknob turned slowly, testing, then silence. I was here first, he said, calm matter of fact. I lived here before you bought it, before the last owners, before anyone. This is my house. You're trespassing. His tone was eerily calm, like he genuinely believed what he was saying, like we were the ones in the wrong. Been in the walls for 2 years, watching you through gaps in the drywall. I know everything about you. What time you wake up, what you eat, what you watch on TV. I've been in your room while you sleep, stood right over your bed, watched you dream. You never knew. You never saw me. I could have hurt you any time, but I didn't, because I'm not a monster. I just want what's mine. I want my house back. The casual tone of his voice while describing stalking us for weeks made it so much worse. He wasn't yelling, wasn't angry, just explaining like it was all perfectly reasonable. The ornaments were a message. Help, home, telling you I'm here, hoping you'd understand and just leave. But you didn't leave. You brought police. You installed cameras. You locked me in my own attic. Something scraped against the door. Maybe his finger. I used to live here with my family, wife, 2 kids, beautiful home. Then the bank took it. Lawyers, foreclosure, people who didn't understand. They took everything. But I never left. I just moved into the spaces they didn't see. The crawl spaces, the walls, behind the insulation. I've been here through 3 families. They all left eventually. They all ran. I heard sirens outside. He must have too because his tone changed. Became urgent. You need to leave. Pack tonight. Tomorrow. Doesn't matter when. Just go. Or I'll make you go. The last family, they didn't listen. I started slow, like with you. Moved things. Took food. Watched them. But they stayed. So I escalated. Started appearing. Doorways. Mirrors. At the foot of their bed at night. Just standing there. Staring. The wife had a complete breakdown. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Started seeing me everywhere. They left in the middle of the night. Left everything behind. His voice dropped to a whisper. The realtor knew. Everyone knew. That's why it was so cheap. This house is haunted, but not by ghosts. By me. And I'm not leaving. The sirens were right outside. Car doors slamming. Pounding on the front door downstairs. Police. The hallway floor creaked. Fast footsteps moving away from our door. We unlocked the bedroom. Ran down. Let the officers in. They searched room by room. Found the broken padlock. Found the attic nest. But they didn't find him until they checked the walls. Holes cut in the drywall behind furniture. Access points in multiple rooms hidden behind dressers and closets. An entire network of passages inside our walls. He'd been living in the infrastructure of our house, moving freely while staying invisible. They found supplies, clothes, food, water, blankets, photos of us, hundreds taken over weeks, us sleeping, eating, showering, everything documented, and journals, pages and pages, surveillance notes, our schedules, habits. Conversations, entries going back 2 years, different names, different people. He'd been doing this for years. His name was David Carver, owned the house 17 years ago, lost it in foreclosure, never moved out, just disappeared into the walls. They sealed the holes, checked every void and crawl space, but the house was old, full of gaps they couldn't fully map. He vanished before they could find him. We left the next morning, hired a lawyer, tried to get out of the mortgage. The bank refused. We sold at a massive loss 3 weeks later. The new owners were a young couple, excited about the price. We didn't tell them. I still feel guilty. 6 months later, they listed it again. No explanation. Sold quickly. It's been through 4 owners in 3 years, each time cheaper, each time a shorter stay. David Carver was never caught. I checked the news sometimes for that address. Last month, the current owners called police, said they kept finding food missing, ornaments rearranged, photos of them sleeping appearing on their nightstands. Police searched, found fresh holes in the walls. David had come back, or maybe he never left. Maybe he's been there the whole time, watching families move in and out, waiting for them to leave. We live in an apartment now, 3rd floor, no attic, no crawl spaces, just concrete and steel. But Alex still checks behind furniture, looking for holes. And I wake up at night listening for footsteps above us that can't possibly be there. Because once you know someone can live in the spaces you don't see, you never stop checking. You never stop listening. That's the real horror. Not that he was there, but that in every house, every building, there are spaces. Gaps in the walls, voids behind the insulation, crawl spaces under the floors, places where someone could hide, watching, waiting. Living 3 feet away while you sleep, completely unaware. And you'd never know, not until they wanted you to.